Hi everyone, my name is Melanie and I chose to do pain assessment in infants. To begin, we have some of the pain perceptions. So we have acute anywhere from lasting a little while to chronic lasting over 12 weeks. The pain pathway is very similar to those of an adult and an infant, but we also need to make sure that we include the gestational age and the medical status of that infant because that's going to help us assess better. Because of the repeated pain exposure that infants can endure, such as prolonged or persistent, it can definitely increase their sensitivity to pain, so we should definitely account for that. Alright, so some ethical issues. There's been significant results that showed like a low awareness of the infant pain assessments, like scales, because it's really hard to rely just on those behavioral signs instead of verbal communication. And then before the 1980s, it was believed that infants don't believe pain because of neuro underdevelopment, but now we know that they do feel pain instantly. We should start really reassessing pain in infants. We do the assessment, we do the information, but we really need to make sure that we do those hourly rounds, which is why they're so important. And then the lack of verbal communication of pain. So we don't have that numeric scale like we have with adults. So we really have to ensure that we are, which is like an ethical issue because it's difficult for nurses to determine if they're assessing the degree of pain appropriately. So there's many pain scales out there, but these are probably the top 4, with NIPS being number 1. NIPS stands for Neonatal Infant Pain Scale. It focuses on your facial expressions, your cry, your breathing pattern, and if their arms or legs are flexed. The FLAC scale is more on your face, the legs, their activity, their cry, and if they're consolable. The PIP focuses on your premature infant, so it's going to be similar to NIPS, but it's going to focus more on their oxygen and their heart rate concepts. And then the cries focuses on how bad their cry is and if they are consolable. So these are very good, useful tools that we can use to help assess the pain and get to that intervention quicker. Alright, so here's some of the pictures I use to help kind of describe the scales. We have grimacing, increased breathing patterns, the pouty lip, squinting of the eyes. So these are kind of like, helps describe the assessment tools in kind of like a picture form. So some of the policies, so pain management is basically based on the individual needs of the child. We're going to do the NIPS scale, we're going to do vital signs every 8 hours on the individual needs, but we're going to definitely focus on those behavioral interventions first, such as changing positions, finding the possible cause like an IV or the caps being around their bed, swaddling, kangaroo care, massage, stuff like that. And then we can focus on pharmacological methods such as the sweet teas, the topical creams, the lidocaine, morphine, all of those good stuff that we can get with the doctor's order. But with those, we really have to worry about side effects such as respiratory depression, hypotension, and decreased GI motility. So these are some of the policies we can use to help assess our pain. Okay. Here is some pictures I found, so we can do a massage to help decrease that anxiety, the skin-to-skin kangaroo care to help with thermoregulation and stabilize the vital signs after a painful intervention, the sweet teas that is actually known to trigger endogenous opioids, which is super cool because it's just glucose, and then a pacifier to help with soothing. Okay, so the important part of this presentation, how are we going to educate and change this problem? So we should definitely utilize our pain scales more concisely to make sure that we are taking the appropriate action for our infant. So further education for healthcare providers so they really know what to look for in the assessment would be great. So nurses know what to look for. Educating for pain cues for our parents, so looking for unusual feeds or different behaviors, unusual crying and stuff like that, so parents can be involved in helping assessing their pain in their infant. We should also discuss pain management and interventions after we've approached it. So we should assess, we should intervene, but then we should continue with the plan of care. So we're not just focusing on a number and connect care, we're focusing on actually patient-centered care. And then lastly, educating about pharmacological methods before is like super important to teach our parents so they can help. They can easily help massage their baby. They can easily like swaddle them, hold them, kangaroo care, all of these things they can do to help soothe their baby so we don't have to go to those pharmacological methods unless they truly need it. Non-pharmacological methods go a long way. So, all right, lastly, to conclude, we learned that pain assessment is just as vital as it is in adults because we can't verbally assess pain through them. Utilization of infant assessment tools are key to help identify the level of pain in an infant. So we really need to focus on those NIPS, those blacks, scales. And then we should always start with the behavioral interventions that we're going to teach our parents and the nurses are going to use to help so we don't have to use those pharmacological methods that are going to cause that hypotension and respiratory depression in our infants. And then education our healthcare providers on how to look for those cues. So that is it. I hope you guys learned a lot. Thanks so much. Bye.